Good morning. Coming to you from a little different setting today. We'll look at the rest of Proverbs this morning, chapters 27 through 31. Tomorrow morning is third Sunday of the month. I'll have an abbreviated worship service with communion, so you can have your communion elements ready at home if you would like to, and join us for communion. And then on Monday we begin to look at the book of Ecclesiastes, whichever. But anyway, just kind of looking at a few of what's going on here in chapter 27 starts, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring forth." And and we need to pay attention to what's going on today, rather than if we focus on tomorrow, we forget about living in the present, and that's one of the things that we really need to. Live more in the present, not in the past, not in the future, but live today and appreciate today for what it is. In verse 11, it's, "My son, be wise and make my heart glad, that I may answer to him who reproaches me." And, there are a lot of times, a lot of places in Proverbs that, it says my son most of the time, my child, just to, as a parent, hoping, praying, encouraging our children to be faithful and make good decisions, and the who our children are reflects a little bit on who we as parents are. Verse 12, "A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself." And we kind of watch out what's going to happen, and if you're hanging with some people and that this isn't what we should be doing, you kind of steer away from that. So you foresee the wrong things, and you take a different path, and it's just to be, again, paying attention of today for what's going to happen tomorrow. And in verse 21, "The refining pot is for silver, the furnace for gold, and a man is valued by what others say about him." I mean, talking about reputation, the goodness of what's within you. And there's another verse that's going to talk about that in a little bit too. But the refining pot, you think about silver and gold being put in the refining pot, and like the other verse, the dross is gone, the waste is gone, and the pure silver and the pure gold are left behind. And and when you peel away everything that makes up a person, and you find out really what's in their heart, and I've got another verse highlighted about that. In chapter 28, verse 26, "He who trusts in his own heart is a fool." And there's others too that we're going to probably talk about a little bit even more today. But who you are, how you treat others, how you react in community, tells a lot about what you are. And a man is valued by what others say of him. And that's if you're looking to have some repair work done, I mean, you can go online now, and you can find these different people that rate people, that they classify them, and if you're going to buy a product, you look for the reviews of it and everything. And the reviews are what tell you about a product or about a company. And so the man is valued by what others say. I mean, this is your reputation. What do other people say about you, and about how you treat others, and the way you live and everything? And verse 6 kind of ties into that of chapter 28. "Better is the poor who walks in integrity than the perverse in his ways, though he be rich." So, rich or poor, it doesn't matter. What matters is your integrity. And integrity isn't only having faith in God, but integrity is doing the right thing at the all of the time. It isn't just doing the right thing when somebody else is watching, or if it makes a difference in what you're going to get out of it. But integrity is speaking well of someone even if the person isn't there. The integrity is being true to your convictions. It isn't that you're one person when you're with this group and a different person with that group, but integrity is being true to knowing yourself and being true to yourself, and that helps to knowing God. Verse 21 of chapter 28, "Do not show, or to show partiality is not good." You know, we don't give favors to somebody. We don't treat somebody better because of who they are or of, you know, whatever. So, you know, we're to treat people equally. And I've had many lessons in that. Verse 25, he who is proud of heart stirs up strife, but he who trusts in the Lord will prosper. In verses 28 and 29, he who trusts in his own heart is a fool, but whoever walks wisely will be delivered. And verse 20, I guess it's 26 and 27 here, but he who gives to the poor will not lack, but he who hides his eyes will have many curses. So, you know, it isn't to, you know, keep everything for ourselves, but to share and to be community. And then verse 3 of chapter 29, whoever loves wisdom make his father rejoice. Again, talks about how you know, parents reflect their children, reflect their parents and what they've been taught, and the family matters and stuff that way. Verse 6, chapter 29, by transgression an evil man is snared, and you know, you get caught in your own lies that way. And going on. In 29 again, verse 23, a man's pride will bring him low, but the humble will retain honor. And again, talking a little bit about integrity, you know, a man's pride will bring him low. You know, if you think you're better than somebody else, you start bragging about yourself. You know, there's very few times that there isn't somebody that's maybe better at something than we are, and we can get caught up in those things. Chapter 30 and 31 now are no longer attributed to Solomon. Chapter 30, it says the wisdom of Agur, A-G-U-R, and he's the words of Agur, the son of Jakeh, his utterance, his speech, you know, and the man declared to these people. And so it doesn't only identify his name, but his father's name. It's, you know, my name is Christian Sen, which is spelled S-E-N. But that's the Danish spelling, you know, son of Christian. And we have Johnsons, and we have Ericsons, and we have, you know, and so often, you know, people are known that way. And it's, you know, when I was growing up, there were several Anderson families in the area, and you know, so you talk about, well, this one is the son of this Anderson and the son of that Anderson, and you know, and just, you know, to identify somebody that way. And it's, you know, and it goes back to some of these other verses of Solomon as to, you know, a son makes his father's heart proud, and you know, talking about family and identity. And I know, you know, we are all, you know, brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus. We are sons and daughters of God. And in the New Testament, where they're tracing the genealogy of Jesus, I mean, you know, they'll trace it, you know, this genealogy was important, very important to the Jewish people, and it still is today. And, you know, in I don't remember which book it is right now, but they trace it all the way back to Adam, son of God, it says, you know, and to, you know, to say that family doesn't matter isn't right, because family does matter. And we look at, and I know people that will look at certain families and say, well, it's no wonder that person is no good because of, you know, well, or it's no wonder that person does well because of his, you know, and, you know, so families do make a difference, and it's one of the things we find often. Verses 4, and I guess it's just a long verse 4, you know, it talks about, you know, it's the Messianic Jesus, you know, who has ascended into heaven or descended, who has gathered the winds of his fists, who has bound the waters of his garment, who has established the ends of the earth. What is his name, and what is his son's name? If you know, with a question mark. And, you know, so it's, you know, who has ascended into heaven or descended? If you remember in John chapter 3, when Jesus is talking to Nicodemus, in verse 13, he says this, find where it starts here. No one has ascended to heaven, but he who has come down from heaven, and that is the Son of Man, who is taken up to heaven. So Jesus answers that question. way back here from Proverbs chapter 30. Who has done it? Only the Son of Man. And Jesus refers to himself as the Son of Man. And so we find, a little bit of messianic prophecy here in the book of Proverbs. And then going on through the rest of this chapter 30, it's like, there are 3 things that never satisfy, 4 that never say enough. And there are 3 things which are too wonderful for me, and 4 that I don't understand. And so he's talking of things that maybe sometimes don't always make sense, but 4 things that the earth is perturbed, yet but it cannot bear, and it's just, some things that can make us sit there and think, and to use another biblical word, to ponder all of these things, and to explore what they may mean, and the ramifications for each and every one of us that way. Chapter 30, verse 32 and 33, if you have been foolish in exalting yourself, or if you have devised evil, put your hand on your mouth. Learn when to shut up, and just, it's like, digging that deep hole. When you dig in a hole and you find yourself getting deeper, quit digging, just, to be bragging about yourself, to be lifting yourself up, making yourself better than others is never, ever a good thing. Chapter 30, it says the words of King Lemuel's mother. And it's, the words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. So, this, passing on wisdom from generation to generation. And, it's just, and then, that starting at verse 10 in chapter 30 talks about the virtuous wife. And I think about that, not only as the virtuous wife, but as a virtuous person, as a person of community. Husbands and wives alike are that way, and just to be faithful and lifting up others in and through all things. So we've kind of browsed our way through Proverbs, and there's just, Proverbs is another of those books that, just like with all of the books of the Bible, that there's a lot of wisdom there, a lot of things to cause us to think, to look at ourselves and examine our relationship with God and with others that way. And again, tomorrow morning, even though we don't have worship, we won't be gathering at Maple and Sutton. I will lead a worship service from my daughters here, just kind of sitting where I am, and we'll ask God's blessing upon ourselves as we do every day. May He richly bless you today.